Now, so as we were saying, the great thing in life is how to make sense of everything, you know, what we're proposing. This is one narrative. You can say how to make sense of this is take your dog out, take a bag of a poo-poo bag, and watch your dog while it's going to do poo on the on the pavement, and collect his poo in a poo bag and take it home. That's the life. I know many people say, why don't you go to church in the morning? Anyway, we're going back. We're going back to this, okay? I say many people say, why don't you go to mass in the morning? Because I have to take a poo bag, and I have to go. I have to tell my doggy, 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 come here. And you look at it. Oh, you're doing a poo. Okay, I put it in a poo bag. Okay, pick up the poo, put it in the bag, and I prefer to do that to go to mass. Well, that's fair enough. If you want to spend your whole life as picking up dog's poo, have a good time. I'm sorry, I'm not criticizing dog owners. I love dogs very much. Dogs are wonderful animals, though. I'm a great animal lover because I come from the country. But anyway, we'll go back again to here. This is the cherubim. So this can symbolize. Now, if you go to China, you'll notice that many temples have two lions. If you go to Egypt, you see the Sphinx. Human face, lion, wings. Where does this all come from? Where does this idea come from? Well, we're being told, oh, this, you know, where it comes from? This comes from Mesopotamia. This idea of the cherubim comes from Mesopotamia. So this is, we can say, oh, then the Catholic Church is just a big mythological jungle. We just take a little bit of Egypt, and we take a little bit of Syria, we take a little bit of China, we take a little of Arab. That's true, because as we were saying, this is called the spoliation of the Egyptians. When the Jews were in Egypt for 40 years, for 400 years, at the end of it all, they took the riches of the Egyptian people. What does that mean? They stole. That means that every one of us, we come to this world as a little piece of flesh in our mother's tummy. Then we grow up and we begin to see the whole world, and we imbibe, we embrace all the education, all the ideas, all the mythologies, all the things in our ideas, and bring them to the glory of God. So obviously, the Chinese people, maybe they didn't know Jesus for 400 years, but actually we can remind ourselves, for example, about the Chinese people, that when Ricci, the Italian priest, went to China and brought them the gospel, he came back and introduced to Europe many things, including philosophy. And so it was, in other words, there's a cross-fertilization of all the cultures of the world, and the main receptacle, the main crucible, the main you could say the fruition of all these ideas and all these cultures are all leading what? To the Mass. Leading to the Roman Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church. Okay. Now, just by the way, well, anyway, I'll show you, but maybe I'll change the view a bit. Okay. Okay. Now here we go. Okay. So you see, okay, you got the very clear picture. See, this is the Ark of the Covenant. Now, this is a very small picture, but actually it's a huge. Originally, this is in the Holy of Holies. Here you have this, that's Chinese word, Shekinah. It's a Hebrew word, and many people don't know even because it's a Jewish word, and they can say Shekinah. But as I say, if you go into any Catholic church, this is the altar. This is the at the top. This is the lid of the. Now we can remember. You know the Jewish people. Not too long ago there was the 7-day war, and it was called Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur. What is Yom? Yom is Hebrew for day. Kippur means atonement. It was the day of the atonement. So every Catholic church, and incidentally, you see this, in other words, every year, once the high priest used to take the blood of the animals in here, into this place, and sprinkle the top of this Ark of the Covenant with the blood of the animals, okay? And that was supposed to expiate, was to get our saved. Now, if we read St. Paul's epistles, he said that they used the same idea as Kippurim, that Jesus Christ, his cross, was the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, was the lid of the covenant. So in other words, Jesus Christ was a living Ark of the Covenant. He was a living Day of Atonement. And I think St. Benedict, not St. Benedict, Benedict the 16th put it very, very succinctly. If I can remember what he said, I was looking at it. He said, what did he say? The hour of Jesus. Now, what is this hour of Jesus? It means the time of Jesus. You know, we can remember in the Gospels that Our Lady at Cana, Our Lady said to Jesus, they don't have any wine. And Jesus said, my hour has not come. What is this hour? This hour is Mass. This hour is the now, today. This hour is an eternal now. So, as I said, this is what Benedict said, if I can remember. He said, Jesus' hour is Jesus Christ hanging on the cross for all eternity, gathering the whole of the human race into him and offering to heaven. So I'll repeat that if I can remember. He said, the hour of Jesus, that means the time of Jesus, which is today. We are living in AD, Anno Domini, BC, before Christ, now Christ. What is the meaning of today? The meaning of today is, I was just saying, the meaning of today is the hour of Christ. We are living in the hour of Christ. We're living in the Christian era. Even the calendars, the Gregorian calendar they took over from the of Caesar's calendar, the Julian calendar, tweaked it a bit, it became the Gregorian calendar. So our time is the hour of Jesus. What is now? Now is the hour of Jesus. Now is the time of your salvation. Now is every Mass. So that's why if a person doesn't want to go to Mass every day, he has alternative. One is to take the dog and take the poo of the dog back home. Another alternative is go to the zoo and look at the monkey and say to the monkey, oh, you are my great-great-grandmother. I come from monkeys, okay? But if you don't like those two alternatives, the dog, or if you like, if you're in England, you can go to a football match, which I played all these games in my life, every single game going, but it's fair enough. We can go rah, 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 all full Arsenal, or some Nottingham Gate, or Manchester United and Manchester City. By the way, I didn't even know. I came to the age of 80, and I asked people. I said, "How come you in Manchester?" I met a guy from Manchester. I said, "Why do you have the two teams?" Well, I didn't know that. The Protestants and the Catholics. You know, it's the same as the Celtic and the Rangers. Well, they all do know. But I've been out of England so long. But anyway, it just shows there's people. I'm not attacking the Protestants, but I'm saying it's, you know, the divergence. They've gone skew-if. I don't want to laugh at the people in Canterbury, but anyway, we won't go on to that, otherwise I'll get into trouble. I will mention also funny, but anyway, so we're going back again here. Okay, this is the Ark of the Covenant, and we become a living Ark of the Covenant, and the blood of the animals was supposed to get rid of the sins of the old Jerusalem. But today, it's Jesus Christ himself. So this is it, you see. The second hour is the living presence of God with us. So that's the sum total. God, man, living together. Okay? Okay. All right, you see, you have the Ten Commandments. You have the Ten Commandments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. We have the 3 for God, and then you have the whole lot. But just by the way, you know, when we're talking about the Ten Commandments, and the commandments of God, when they asked Jesus, and also when if you look at the Bible account, the first Bible account 1, 2, 3 is all about God, God, God. Worship God, listen to God, love God with their whole heart, their whole soul and mind. And it seems to be like an afterthought. After all, our duty to God is the main thing. That's justice. We must give God what is due to God. Justice means giving their due. Many people say justice, giving the poor people their due. Well, of course, we want to look after the poor. We are poor. I'm pretty poor myself. You can come and live wherever. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. But anyway, so we're going. So the main commandments in life is to adore God, to love God with their whole heart, the whole soul, and strength. So going back to this desert journey. This is the desert journey, 40 years. See, this symbolizes God's commandments come down to heaven. Why did God lead the Jews out of Israel? Now, many people believe, because the poor Jews, they had to build the pyramids, they had a terrible time, they were suffering, and Jesus said, oh, these poor Israelites are suffering, and I love them, and I have made the covenant with him, and so I must go to Egypt and lead them out, because they're suffering. But what they forget is, what is their suffering? Their suffering is sin. And the fact that they don't know God, and they don't know how to worship God. That is the suffering. God led the Jews into the desert for 40 years to tell them to go to Mass. That's a fact. He said, I want to show you how to worship me. And this whole business of going up Mount Sinai, building the Ark of the Covenant, making the sacrifice of the animals between God and they were, on one occasion he said to Moses, he said, build an altar, kill the animals, pour the blood, half of the blood onto Mount Sinai, half of the blood onto the Jewish people. That means the Mass, God and man united, the covenant of God. He said, and originally it was the blood of the animal, but then Jesus Christ said, forget about the animals, I will shed my blood for you. And that is Mass. So every day we honor. So we just state again, the main reason why God instituted the Exodus, brought the Jews out of Egypt, was to show them how to say Mass, was to make them into the old Israel. Now, what is the old Israel? So in the desert, this is Mount Sinai, the mountain, we've just been to see Mount Sinai, and the mountain, all the Israelites, all the Jews were higgledy-piggledy all down there. And what did he do? As we just said it, he made them to the ecclesia, the Septuagint. What is the Septuagint? The Septuagint is the Hebrew Bible translated into the Greek Bible. And why is it called the Septuagint? Because according to the tradition, there were 70 people, 70 Jewish scholars were conversant with the Hebrew culture and the Greek culture, and they translated the Hebrew Bible into the Greek Bible, and as a result, this little tiny nation of Hebrews became part of the Greek heritage and spread across the world. And in the translation of the Bible from Hebrew into Greek, the word for kehal, in other words, the word for the gathering of the people, was ecclesia, in other words, church. In other words, God instituted the Catholic Church at the foot of Mount Sinai. This wasn't just an afterthought. There are many, many people, they believe that the Catholic Church was instituted by Constantine the Emperor or something else, and before that they didn't have Mass, they didn't have bishops, they didn't have the whole caboodle. But the whole point was that it was all started off by here at the Mount of Sinai 3,000 years ago. God had the church in his mind. And that's why if you read the Catechism of New Catechism of the New Catechism of the Catholic Church, God had the greatest thing of all time is God. God had the church in mind before the universe was created. Okay, well, there's a lady here, she's telling me to shut up. She has a sign, she goes like this, you know. She says, when she goes like this, that means keep quiet. So that's a good time. You know what that is? This is the Tao. You know, anyway, I'll keep going. Okay, have a good time. God bless.